Some folks say that riding a motorcycle is probably the closest thing to flying an airplane. I don't know. I'd love to do that.
They say that you don't know what you've got till it's gone. Well, perhaps. But I don't look at that as a bad thing. At some point in our lives, we switch from living only for the future to living with the knowledge of our past as a foundation upon which we build to go forward. It sometimes occurs to me that my past is like a personal retirement account that I never even knew I had. One that I can only access once I accepted my own reality. Some of the most impactful things in my youth were images, both still and film. Along with the love of my motorcycles, I was and still am a huge fan of aviation. Like motorcycles, aircraft defied the norm and seemed to beckon and inspire me. I remember when broadcast stations would sign off just after the late local newscast. One station in particular played the trailer called High Flight. There was this Air Force F-104 starfighter being filmed above the clouds performing effortless climbs and rolls among high clouds. As the aircraft flew, the narration seemed to be made for that flight, speaking about dancing in the skies and doing hundreds of things I had not dreamed of. I didn't know it then, but I think those images and words were the kind of inspiration that were partly responsible for my desire to ride motorcycles. By the time I was 19, I had bought my first street bike, a 1983 Suzuki GS550E. Now, compared to my previous motorcycles, this thing actually could fly. I mean, talk about a culture shock. The first time I revved out of second gear, I was topping a hill just as it was reaching that magical point that I later found out was called a power band. Topping that slight incline, at around 65 miles per hour, their front wheel lofted into the air, and had I not reduced throttle, I would have gone past the balance point. Now, I was no stranger to wheelies, well, sort of. On a bicycle, I could wheelie at will, anywhere and everywhere, and had gotten pretty good at wheelies on my Honda 125, but that period was short-lived. Yeah, I looped my Honda 125 on the road once, so I didn't need any further lessons on the repercussions of botching a wheelie on the street, especially not at the speeds that 550 could do. Let's just say that one incident had a slight grounding effect on my riding, but being your typical 19-year-old male coupled with a powerful motorcycle, this was only going to end one way, and the only questions were when and how bad. No, I've never been a good chess player. I guess I'm just not wired like that. The thing I hate about chess is, I try to prioritize the opponent's threats based on their rank and the range of their moves, only to lose to a stupid pawn while dodging all the other pieces. Yeah, see, The one that gets you is the one you ascribed as the least threatening piece. And really, if you think of it, that's most things in life. Motorcycles are no different. The road is a gigantic chessboard, and let your guard down just a little and you'll eventually get tagged. It's funny, but when I got my motorcycle license at 14, I remember my brother in another of those wisdom-packed loose dissertations about riding. He passed along the most important guidance I'd ever heard, and I still use it to this day. He said, "Pat, when you're on the road, ride like every car you see is trying to kill you." I guess he had just seen the movie Death Race 2000 or something. But the point was clear. Ride like you are invisible and do not expect anyone to see you or yield the right of way. Play chess and stay 6 moves ahead. Basically, my first road wreck happened because I did not follow that one simple rule. I trusted a lady not to turn in front of me. Fortunately, I was only doing about 40 and I was young and I healed well. I remember being bandaged and stuck at home licking my mental wounds. This event shook me and totaled my bike. But the wings on this bird were not going to be clipped, and within a week I was already looking in the classifieds for my next ride. I still had to fly. In 2007, I picked up my Yamaha FZ1. I was 43 and was less daring for sure, but I guess too, the realization of being mortal began changing not only my riding style and habits, but all aspects of my life. I also had found new appreciation for things I once just took for granted. My dad was a mechanical engineer and had an interest in the mechanics and physical properties of things in a way I just could not understand as a kid. And I'm not sure if it was what I saw him do or that he taught me directly, or if it was things he passed to me genetically. But my appreciation for all things mechanical became front and center around this time. Always mindful of how powerful those early images of aircraft and motorcyclists had been throughout my life, I also had a new outlook on motorcycling and how things worked. Growing up, my dad's endless desire for perfection was really not something I ever aspired to have. And even still, whether it was subconsciously or genetically infused, somehow I do suffer from a slight excess of that trait. Throughout my life, I have met or known many fascinating people, and motorcyclists are certainly at or near the top of that list. But right in there would have to be some of the pilots I've met and called friends. I once had a conversation with an Air Force Major General, and I was asking about all the aircraft he'd flown. This list was stunning to say the least. But when I asked what his favorite was, his answer was no less stunning. Years before, in the mid-1990s, as a test pilot at Edwards Air Force Base, he was given an opportunity to fly either the brand new F-117 Nighthawk Stealth or a 40-year-old U-2. He took the U-2. When I asked why, he said there was something special about flying such a low-tech aircraft that was still essentially a stick and rudder aircraft. I find I'm on a similar path with motorcycles. I resisted for as long as possible modern nanny features like ABS, linked braking systems, traction control, wheelie control, and all similar advancements like TFT or LCD screens. I know there's really no way around all that on new bikes, I guess, but I just prefer knowing the buck stops with me. What's next? A self-driving motorcycle? Well, not for me. I guess I'm just old school that way. I was thinking the other day, What if I could go back in time and show my younger self the level to which he and his motorcycles had gone? I'm not sure I could have imagined all that we've done since those early days. I think in some ways, not knowing what the future held was the only way I could arrive here. And I'm not sure if motorcycling is the closest thing to flying. Perhaps it is. When I'm on my motorcycle, I feel as though I have a greater connection with my environment and beyond. Perhaps the truly closest flying experience would be an open cockpit, early biplane. And in that respect, maybe we should just rephrase the saying. How about this? The closest thing to riding a motorcycle is flying an airplane. Yeah, I figure that's about right.